This is a presentation on effects of global culture differences in communication styles for communication class at Cabrini College by Liz, Alex, and Ted. As the world gets smaller, the vastly different cultures are impacting today's leaders more and more. Cultures are learned behaviors that impact beliefs, customs, and most importantly, communication styles. We will examine the differences in organizational culture between the U.S. and China and highlight examples to improve the communication between the two. In this presentation, we will define organizational culture, give an example of American culture in business, examine the differences between the U.S. and China, and discuss ways we can improve communication between different cultures. There are likely to be no less than a dozen companies producing or providing the same product and services that your company is. The question then becomes, what is your market, how is it branded, and how does your company get it done? All of these topics create the loose definition of a corporation's organizational culture as the insider view of the way things are done around here. Leaders have to understand and embrace their organizational culture. The way of doing things provides the employees with their total environment. It shapes their emotions, corporation, and influences how much time and interaction they will have with their peers. It can build and strengthen a team. According to Harvard Business School professors, they state simply that those who conform to the culture are rewarded, those who don't will be penalized. Organizations are diverse across many sections. Race, gender, social class, generational differences are only some of the issues that we face in America. Yet many companies build a thriving culture by attracting those that will enjoy and seek out their organizational culture.
Take, for example, the current battles in headphone and earbud technology. Recently, Apple offered to purchase Beats headphones by Dr. Dre for $3.2 billion. How do earphones warrant billions of dollars for the purchase of them? The marketing and branding of the headphones started in 2003 with Rick Alden and his snowboarding friends in Park City, Utah. Rick Alden started a company called Skull Candy, which was, by far, the original branded earbuds and headphones technology. He saw a culture of young Americans who were tied to their music. The 2001 release of iTunes, followed by the 2007 release of the first iPhone, was the perfect co-branding and marketing partner for the explosion of growth that Skull Candy received, as it was valued at $100 million in 2009. But what made this company so unique? Its organizational culture. Gen Xers flocked to and killed for the positions available at Skull Candy. Its work culture is defined by the people that it sells to. How do you mean? Imagine an actual company policy called the Powder Policy. This unique policy allows its employees to take full advantage of the Park City, Utah snow by allowing its team to come in after lunch on days when there is new snow. To stay safe, you ask? No. It is to be on the slopes. The employees are expected to be on the mountains, taking advantage of the world-class Park City snow when there is fresh powder. And this policy allows employees to enjoy life more, build more loyalty to the company, and get more productivity in the hours that they spend in the workplace, says CEO Hobie Darling, a former Nike executive and self-proclaimed CrossFit junkie. But that is within the United States. What cultural differences can occur with a global organization? What challenges do leaders face when communicating with other cultures? What is another type of global culture, and what is the communication style? And what does a leader need to know about how this affects an organization? The trade between the U.S. and China is growing rapidly. As the U.S. becomes more dependent on other nations for our imports, we must learn how to communicate meaning effectively to other cultures. In a study published in the International Communication Studies Journal, the author found that the following of her participants in her interviews. Participants stressed the importance of clarity and accuracy in intercultural communication. For instance, an American participant said his biggest challenge while working in China is 100% communication. According to him, there was always some uncertainty. To To communicate my ideas to the persons and have them understand and vice versa is very hard. A Chinese participant told me that if he is going to communicate with someone, he would prefer to communicate with the Chinese people because they are easy to understand. This clearly shows that in this case, problems are 100% communication, and people of the same culture are easy to understand. So what are the differences, and how do we solve the problem? In order to discover some of the differences, let's imagine that our company is US-based and has a division in China posted for future growth. There are several cultural differences between our communities that translate over to our styles of communication. The next few slides will display the cultural differences that are the most extreme.
The United States has a low context culture. Direct to the point, clarity and expression in communication is highly valued. Confrontation is not necessarily an open argument or offensive, rather is a form of acceptable communication. China, on the other hand, has a high context culture, harmonious, subtle, nonverbal cues. Meanings to their communication are non-verbalized and implicit. There is no self-expression. In terms of individualism, the United States is highly individualistic. Put your own desires first, stress independence and independent achievement. This fosters a speak up and speak out attitude of free expression. China, on the other hand, is collectivist, putting the tight-knot society first, believing that the welfare of the society is more important than their own. They would control their feelings and emotion in their conversation and express themselves in a much more subtle way. United States has a low power distance. The U.S. welcomes change and challenges from its employees to its superiors. They accept that leaders are in charge, but that they are open to consultative approach. They are not seen as unequal. China has high distance, they accept that positions of power are far removed from them and deserve much privilege. Leaders and subordinates are almost seen as different types of people altogether. Free orientation. The U.S. is an instant gratification society. They are focused on the now and present. In terms of future orientation of China, they are willing to defer their gratification in pursuit of long-term goals. They are focused on the long term rather than the short. Now that we are beginning to understand the cultural and communication differences between our division in China and ourselves in the U.S., we must act to communicate our messages effectively in order to be the most effective leaders that we can be. We must take action to change our communication with our division in China in order to become as productive as we can. Here are some of the attitudes and behavioral changes we will need to make to do so. Adapt behavior. Never assume anything about a person based on stereotypes. Take the time to learn about them through dialogue and conversations. Communicate with them and change what you need to change about yourself in order to understand what you need to as their leader. Become culturally literate. Take the time to learn and understand the other culture, how they treat their managers, how to handle a woman of authority, what are their expectations from their managers and superiors. These are all imperatives for the leader to take the initiative to learn and understand. Develop constructive attitudes. View the differences as an opportunity to strengthen the team, as well as yourself. Understand that you are not the center of the universe, or in this example, as a leader, you are not the center of the organization. You must continuously grow and challenge yourself in order to help create the most dynamic teams. We must take action to continue to work on our understanding of global cultures that differ from ours. We must get a better understanding of how cultural differences influence communication skills. Then we will slowly be able to develop our own communication techniques to create meaning in our interactions. As leaders, we must communicate meaning effectively to our teams, locally and internationally, because the world is getting smaller every day.